Why don't you, motion to remove the planning commissioner training and add a discussion, a brief discussion on Pelican River watershed. Does that work for you?
Yep, that absolutely works for me.
No, I'm good. All right, well, it's 5:30. We'll go ahead and call this monthly meeting of the Detroit Lakes Planning Commission to order. We have quorum. Jen, I think you're good on attendance. All right. With that, we'll start with approval of the minutes for the regular meeting held on March 27th, 2025. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll so move to make that motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Liz, I believe you had an adjustment you wanted to make to the agenda?
I do, Mr. Chair and Honorable Commission. I'd like to make a motion to actually remove item D under other business, Planning Commission training, and add a brief discussion of the Pelican Watershed District to the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to remove item 4D and replace it with a discussion on the Pelican River Watershed District recent changes. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So we have that adjustment noted. All right, with that, we'll move on to public hearings and get that going. Couple of quick notes. So this is the public hearing portion here. All of you will have an opportunity to address the commission. I would ask that when you come up, please come up to the podium, use the microphone, state your name and address for the record. And we'd love to hear what you have to say. If you have any questions for the commission, you certainly ask that. Once we're done with all the public comments, we'll close the public comment portion and then we will discuss as a commission. This is the first stop. We will make a recommendation here, and then that'll go to the Community Development Committee, which meets on Monday, May 12th at 5 p.m. in the conference room behind you back over there. And then it'll go to the council on Tuesday, May 13th at 5 p.m. right back here in these chambers. All right, with that, I will call to order a public hearing to give consideration to rezoning property from R2 1 and 2 family residence to LB Lakefront Business District at 1321 Summit Avenue for the city of Detroit Lakes. John, I assume that one's you today? Or is Larry, you gonna take that?
I'm gonna start and John can chime in if he feels like I'm
All right.
leaving out anything important. So the city of Detroit Lakes is requesting the rezoning of 1321 Summit Avenue from R2 1 and 2 family to LB Lakefront Business District. This property is near Peoples Park in the city beach, and it's the city's intent to construct a public parking lot on this site. 59 parking spaces are going to be lost with the reconstruction of Westlake Drive, and this is a way that we can provide some needed parking in this area. The comprehensive plan shows this area as a mixed-use and low-density retail area, and it also states the following. The Washington Avenue and Westlake Drive corridors also hold opportunities for additional housing options, but is secondary to the commercial and service land uses. The city's major park facilities are contained in this area. A major commitment by the city to keep these areas viable with modern and attractive facilities is vital to encourage investment in the corridor. So I think that with that, it shows that it fits in well with the comprehensive plan. And for the planning commissioners, you have this material in front of you. It basically shows the current parking spaces and the proposed parking spaces. It has a very, I would say, preliminary draft of what the parking lot will look like. It certainly doesn't show the details of any screening or plantings at this point in time, but that will come later.
Okay,
And also, when we had a public open house, we had a survey done, and 67% of the people who took that survey liked the parking lot. 23.68 were neutral, and 9.21% disliked it. So there's very strong support for the parking in this area.
okay, anything further? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. If you'd like to address this issue, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Any public comments?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Angie and Nick Polieski, and we are at 1317 Summit Avenue. We wrote a letter for you guys that I'm just going to read off here. Voices our opinion and ideas about this change. So, dear citizens and staff of Detroit Lakes and Planning Commission, my family and I are members of the community and close neighbors to the exciting new changes appearing in our beautiful city of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. There are many changes and advancements that have been presented to enhance our community, and we could not be more supportive of the many ideas. Today, we are all here to discuss and vote, I guess soon vote, on specific first priority to these changes, the People's Park parking lot. As my husband and I look forward to the changes designed in the community, we can't help but feel opposed to the People's Park parking lot. We are aware that this plan is to accommodate parking that will be lost with the Westlake Avenue plan, but we hope that you all acknowledge how this space could better be considered. This property may currently be seen as wasted space to the city, but as a neighbor, we see it as a well-used green space for local and visiting people. This city property is shared park space that many local pedestrians use as a low-traffic breach to access restaurants. They also use it to access the farmer's market, the pickleball courts, the basketball courts, and the People's Park from neighboring streets. Visitors use this space to retreat from the busy beach, to stretch their traveling legs, play a quick game of catch, or relieve their four-legged family companions. We see the current parking lot plans lack a design that will be considerate to the safety and the amount of pedestrians that will continue to travel through this open space in the city. We fear that this plan will bring more traffic and commotion to an area that has been seen to break up and relieve the amount of activity between our busy commercial and forever residential neighborhood. This new parking lot will only provide minimal parking that will not solve continued street parking along Summit Avenue and within People's Park, as this new parking lot will inevitably introduce a new location for chaos and riffraff so close to residential homes. We ask that you all consider different options for this space that could be more compatible to the residents of Summit Avenue, Minnesota Avenue, and Lake Avenue. We see a better fit would be continued green space, introducing a paved path for pedestrians, native planting, picnic tables, or a specific pet relief area that redirects the activity from activity from the city beach as better options for this space. Following these feelings, my family and I recognize we may not understand what the city sees of value to the current plan. If for some reason an alternate idea for the current plan is unworthy, we will continue to remind the engineers of the importance of privacy and security to the homes neighboring this lot. As my home, our home is one of the most affected by this parking lot. Screening with landscaping shrubs is simply not enough. Headlights and a variety of strangers become a fear of being so close to this change. Along with shrubbery, a large, well-made and private fence will be of necessity to the north side of this lot. This fence should not lack appropriate height and length. We ask that the fence is presented at least 6 feet tall and extends in length from Summit Avenue sidewalk to Minnesota Avenue sidewalk. It is important that the neighboring properties are well protected from the parking lot, foot, and vehicle traffic. We also ask that this fence remain on the city property so that any maintenance is covered by the city. We ask that everyone involved recognize that the fence is a necessity and appropriate screening in this design. As this plan moves forward and rezoning is considered, we thank everyone for listening to all of the thoughts and ideas presented today. There is a lot to look forward to as a member of this community, and we are excited to watch our city transform. Please take time to consider our concerns and ideas, as we are one of the most affected by this specific change. Thank you. Polyeski family.
Thank you. All right, further, anyone else have comments they'd like to make? Oh, unless you had anything further, I'm sorry, I should have. All right, thank you. Anyone else would like to address the commission and make a comment?
Hello, I'm Kurt Wild. I live at 1318 Minnesota Avenue, right adjacent to this property. I ask that you reconsider the zoning from R1 to R2 to the Lakefront Business District and keep it as a green space. My property abuts this property as well. I feel that the fairgrounds would be a better alternative since it's already a parking lot area already. The distance from the beach, from the fairgrounds, is about the same distance as the 1321 Summit parking lot. My concern is the loss of enjoyment of my property, devaluation, added noise, light pollution, loitering, and people leaving the nearby establishment at later hours and making more noise. I have 3 bedrooms that do face that lot, and it makes it difficult for sleep. Right now, you hear the noise from the business next door already, and I think would be a big impact on my property and the use and enjoyment of my home. I'm excited, though, to see the changes in the community on the beach. That's great, but I'd like to see the lot stay as a green space as it currently is. And I just ask that you reconsider the change of zoning and keep it as a green space.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, any further comments? Would anyone else like to address the commission and make a comment?
We're Charles or Chuck and Janice Palm. We live at 1310 Minnesota, and we'd like to have you reconsider this also. Our bedroom is also facing to the south, and right now, at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a certain establishment on the beach, and many times we've been woken up with commotion, people fighting, people yelling, people swearing, cars tearing out of that place, and to have that parking lot so much closer to our house, it would be approximately a little bit over 100 feet from our bedroom window. And it's gonna kinda, wreck our sleep. I'm sure none of you would want that parking lot that close to your house next to a bar, which we all know people sometimes get rambunctious at a bar. They're having fun and they make noise.
And I would also like to comment too, people aren't aware of this, but Minnesota Avenue, people don't travel up Minnesota Avenue. We're not used to having a lot of traffic on our street. So, I mean, even if you were to consider it, at least don't put an exit on Minnesota Avenue. I would appreciate that. And the only establishment that is going to use this year-round is Zorba's. So I noticed when we had the announcement of this meeting, it was changed to Zorba's parking instead of People's parking. It was on that orange piece of paper.
And I know before the city bent over backwards to give Zorba's additional parking over by the pickleboard courts. And you could extend that. There's not anybody living next to that. And that's just, kind of what we're thinking. And the screening that they're talking about is gonna be some like little trees, and that's not gonna really do anything. We live in two-story house, would be much above that. And the people leaving the parking lot are gonna cause us a lot of grief, I guess I could say.
And getting back to who's gonna park there, I mean, obviously that'll be used in the summertime, but rarely do cars, we live 3 houses up from it, rarely do cars park in front of our house. I don't care if they park in front of our house, but it's rare that they do that in the middle of the summertime. So I don't know, and the number of cars that you say, the parking spots, I don't quite get where you would get that number. It seems, unless they're touching each other back to back, it seems like an extreme amount. But anyway, getting back to who's gonna use that, that's gonna be used year-round by Zorbas. I mean, that's who is going to benefit the most from that parking lot. So if you're gonna put it in there, don't plow it in the wintertime. Save the money, save the city some money. Then once or twice a year in the wintertime, during the polar plunge and during the fishing derby, clear it out. Otherwise, like I said, who gets the most benefit from it? Are they paying for it? I mean, now you got their name on it, Zorba's Parking. That's my thought about it.
Another thought I had is, people aren't at the beach after 10 o'clock. Possibly this parking lot, if it's built, could be closed at 10 o'clock. That way, all the people from Zorba's wouldn't be causing trouble. But we've got 100 days of summer here, and part of those days are, rainy or cold and people aren't at the beach. So the other 300 days, it's gonna be people from Zorba's parking there. So I guess do you have any questions for us, or?
No, I think we're okay here. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Janice. All right, would anyone else like to make a comment? Any further comments? Oh, sure, go ahead.
And I kind of know the city does what the city wants, but if you do decide to do this, why don't you give Mr. Weil, if you can just change the rules on whim, why don't you let him have his new garage at least? I mean, he's been wanting one, but, oh no, he can't have that. But you can change that to a parking lot. So at least let him have his new garage.
All right, thank you. Any further comments? Any further comments to the commission?
I have 2 other letters to read into the record.
Okay, why don't you read those in, and then we'll do one more quick call and we'll.
The first one is from D. Qualley. I received a hearing notice in the mail for 1321 Summit Avenue, rezoning from 1 and 2 family residence to Lakefront Business District. My only question or concern is the removal of the trees. According to the photo below, there are approximately 5 trees that will be removed to accommodate the new parking lot. Will the city be planting at least 5 new trees within the area of the parking lot? I would be more than happy to donate $500 for the purchase of mature trees to be planted on the property. Completely comprehend that there are insufficient parking spots in that area, but let's be mindful of how hot and unsightly in summer an asphalt park.
Larry, could you mention the address of D. Qualley, please?
She does not list that, but we've got that. We can get that for you.
Thank you.
Is she one of the people that she was notified? She's within 700 feet. I know that. That's all I can tell you at this point. The second letter is from Tom Harper, 1305 Minnesota Avenue. The Detroit Lakes Planning Commission should not approve the rezoning of the property at 1321 Summit Avenue, which also fronts on Minnesota Avenue. The highest and best use of this land is for a rain garden or stormwater retention pond. not impervious surface for a parking lot. Across Summit Avenue from this property is a sign indicating drinking water protection area. Much of the pervious surface within Peoples Park has been lost of the last decades. There is now a concrete surface skate park, a concrete surface under the hockey rink, and a warming building. Parking has been expanded on Peoples Street and on Finney Avenue, and the pickleball courts were recently added. With this large expansion of impervious surface, surely the city would be willing to retain this small parcel. 2 blocks from this property at 1330 Rossman Avenue is land owned by the Becker County Agricultural Society. The portion abutting Rossman Avenue is a gravel surface, is level, is near to the beach as 1321 Summit Avenue is, and has adequate space nearby for a stormwater treatment area if needed. It would be significantly less expensive to put a parking lot here. Since a better and less expensive alternative exists, I again urge the Planning Commission to deny this rezoning. Should this rezoning be approved, it should only go forward with the requirement that pervious pavers be used for surfacing. I would only point out that the city does not own the property on Rossman Avenue, so it's inappropriate to suggest that we should build a parking lot on somebody else's property.
That's all the letters, Larry?
The address of D. Qualley is 1136 Summit Avenue.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, any further comments? Yeah, come on up.
My name's Alan Belfi. I'm just here to support a friend, Kurt Wild, but I have been to a number of these meetings, and I have been turned down multiple times for impervious surface reasons and also parking reasons. And it's great that they've allowed Zorba's to make a beautiful restaurant or whatever, but they did have parking at one time, some spots. And previous administrations have allowed Zorba's to use virtually their entire lot, expanding their restaurant. Now they don't have any parking. Now they have a problem, and they're asking the city, I think, or maybe not asking, but maybe the city's feeling that they should help them out. And I think it's really a conflict of interest when many of us have been turned down multiple times for variances and whatnot for impervious surface and parking spots. I think Larry can attest to that. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Any further comments? Any further comments? All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and I'll open it up for discussion with the commission. Any discussion from the commission?
My understanding is we're approving a zoning change tonight.
Correct. That's correct.
Thank you. With the intent of a parking lot.
Right.
And I guess I'll address it to the commission. I mean, we heard comments tonight regarding adequate screening, things to consider when looking at a parking lot in this area to shield from residential areas. And I think that is something that the city should consider when looking at developing this area, putting the adequate screening, whether it be trees or whether it be fences. I think we've all had those discussions of adequate screening when that's necessary from that standpoint. So I would just put forward that I'd like to see some adequate screening when we consider that further.
I do think the city would be willing to meet with the adjoining property owners to talk about those issues.
Okay, further discussion from the commission.
I just have a question for Larry. If moving to the Lakefront Business District obviously allows a potential parking lot, but does that require any additional extra screening or any other components to that by going to that?
We have screening requirements in the ordinance, but I think the type of screening that they're asking for probably goes beyond what the ordinance requires, and so we should certainly meet with them and talk about what can be done to make that more palatable.
Thank you, Andrew. Further discussion from the commission?
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I have a question. Yeah, the Becker County Fairgrounds, the hockey rink, the gymnastics, the old food pantry building, that's on city property, correct?
The arena is on city property. The food pantry building no longer exists, but it was on city property.
Right, right.
But the rest of it belongs to the Fair Board or the Becker County Agricultural Society.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Has the city identified other potential spots for additional parking, or is this?
They have not identified other potential spots for parking.
Is there any alternative?
There may be, but there's not one that, like this, that's this size and provides a significant number of parking spaces.
Go ahead, Jen.
Sorry.
There you
I
go.
don't, I'm just thinking through as we've developed this, we've been looking for parking opportunities, you know, adjacent to the lakefront district, and nothing else has really floated to the surface in terms of where you could do it that wouldn't impact existing park space, whether that's City Park, People's Park, the fairgrounds potentially, but again, we don't own that. Not to say we couldn't potentially work something out with the Fair Board, but outside of that, no, I'm not really aware of any other opportunities.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John.
Go ahead, Eric.
Two more questions, Larry. It's 44 proposed spaces, correct?
That's correct.
I can see that. And then it's not going to be labeled Zorba's parking lot.
No, absolutely not.
Have zero, nothing, nil to do with this, correct?
They have nothing to do with this.
Other than
This
the
is
fact that they
fully
pay
a
taxes.
public parking lot.
Okay, correct. Thank you.
Zorba's did participate in being assessed for parking in People's Park and on People's Street, but they are not involved in this in any way.
And Larry, I'm just gonna ask a question, and I guess the commissioners too as well. I think in our ordinance, we can address some of the concerns that the citizens had tonight. One is the concern of lighting pollution.
Right.
We can address that. The city as well can actually look at the time available to park in that area. So that is something the city can address, not necessarily a planning commission, but we can loudly hear the concerns of the citizens that they'd like some restricted parking in that area if the parking goes forward. So I think those are things that we've heard before
Yes,
and can, correct?
that is correct.
Okay.
Okay, further discussion or a motion from the commission? I would entertain a motion if one of you wants to.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion on the table to approve the rezoning of a property from R2, 1 and 2 family residence to LB Lakefront Business District at 1321 Summit Avenue. Any further discussion from the commission on the motion? That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, thank you all for that. We have another public hearing. So I will now call to order a public hearing to give consideration to rezoning a property from RA Agricultural Residence District to I-1 Light Industrial District at 1160 Fortune Avenue for Patrick Bartles. Larry?
Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward zoning request. The property is currently zoned RA, which is residential agriculture. And
Yeah,
that's
just
basi-
hold that thought for 1 second. If you guys don't want to stay for this part, you're fine. That's, I don't want to keep you here unnecessarily if you don't want to be here for this part. We can pause for a minute.
Nice job.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate the comments.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Larry.
So again, this is essentially a change from our transition zone of residential agriculture to I-1 Light Industrial District. The comprehensive plan shows this area as industrial, and all of the adjacent land uses around it are industrial, and it seems logical to zone it industrial. And I would recommend that.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a comment on this one? Come on up. If you could state your name and address for the record, I'd sure appreciate it.
Thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak. My name is Patrick Bartels. I am the owner of PJ's Properties and the owner of this property. As Larry said, I am just looking to rezone it to light industrial, as all the surrounding properties are as well. And down the road, potentially building a shop on the vacant land that's back there that I own as well, with proper permitting. So that's all.
Great.
Short and sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
No problem.
Patrick, I got one question. Yes. So right now, it's just a zoning change, no plans to do anything, you're just kind of setting it up? to
You
be-
know, right now, I use it personally for storage for all of my stuff. But I would like to lease the property out here, maybe in the very near future, and then build and lease and do that sort of thing. I'm in the rental game, so that's what I do, so. but Thank you.
Thanks. All right, any further comments? Any further comments from the public? All right, hearing no further comments, I'll close the public hearing and I'll open it up to the commission for discussion and a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve rezoning property from RA Agricultural Residence District to I-1 Light Industrial District at 1160 Fortune Avenue. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign. For those opposed, I should finish my sentence. Motion carries. All right, well, we got that one. That'll go to the CDC next, and then the council on the 12th and 13th of May. Okay, looking around the room, why don't we jump to 4B really quick, and let's take a look at the consideration to the final plat of Southwood Shores Estates.
Okay?
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you very much, council.
So a request has been made to approve the plat of Southwood Shores Estate. This is a 28-lot residential plat. And final plat approval is recommended, subject to the following conditions. I'm gonna start with condition 2, that the owner sign an assessment agreement and/or development agreement, that the owner obtain any required Pelican River Watershed District permits, and that the owner obtain a land disturbance permit. The first one is regarding park dedication, and we have been in contact with the owners about providing a trail easement along South Shore Drive and 270th Avenue. The reason for that is basically there's a snowmobile trail that runs through there now, and we'd like to have a little additional space there. That would reduce the amount of his payment for the park dedication significantly. And we haven't made that final calculation yet, but we're also looking at that he would either pay the $147,660 or provide the 20-foot wide easement, which would reduce that by about 30%. So his park dedication payment would be a little over $100,000 in addition to the trail easement.
Okay.
How many units are gonna be in there?
28.
We don't know that for sure, but there's,
Yeah, okay. 28 lots.
Do you have anything you'd like to say in relationship to this before we discuss?
it's not all single family.
Good evening, John Lowry with Lowry Engineering here on behalf of Garrick Properties. And, yeah, thank you for the consideration. I think we've, familiar with this one through the preliminary plat process. And, single-family homes, the lots that are within the 1,000-foot setback, to directly address that question, I don't know that they're wide enough, or they might be, but somebody would probably need to buy a couple of them in order to put a twin home on it. But the homes that are outside of the 1,000-foot lakeshore zone are big enough to have a duplex if you wanted to do that on there. But they're sold as, the zoning allows for a single and two-family, just to directly address the question. I did have a conversation as well with Kelsey earlier today about the potential for, for ease of survey, we wanted to kind of plat this all out at once, although we're not developing it all out at once. So there's gonna be a few outlots. And the park dedication, because it's all in the plat, is being paid all up front. If the city would consider, paying what's platted into lots with fronting right away, we would certainly appreciate it. The intention is to continue to plat this subdivision. I think we have some additional needs and stuff that may be coming forward in the very near future. But if we could do it as we plat and dedicate the fronting right away to make it usable lots, we'd certainly appreciate that. So just something for consideration. Either way, we request your support on the overall project and keeping this moving forward. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Any questions for John? All right. Discussion, motion from the commission?
A question for Larry, I guess, if we were gonna make that recommendation to break up the park dedication fees based on the development of the plat, how would you figure that out? I mean, is that easy math?
Well, there's a lot of ways to figure, but,
Right.
That was a
figures
very
don't
good
lie, but
non-answer,
liars do
Larry.
figure. I don't know.
Get that Excel worksheet out.
Well, I mean, one option would be to charge half of it up front and then the rest as it's platted, or by a certain date specific that they would have to pay the rest of it, say, in 5 or 10 years. So that would be my recommendation. I think we could negotiate that to be equitable.
Yeah, I just thinking out loud, and some other real estate agents in the room, you never know what's gonna happen. So he gets hit hard right from the beginning, and market goes down, and he sits on this land for 10 years. I mean, he's out, I think it'd be fair and to give him an opportunity to pay it as he kind of goes. Like, I like that idea, half down, and then as he develops, make payments on the rest.
Okay, any further discussion from the commission on this? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the plat as presented with the staff's recommendations in the staff's report as well.
Which would include their conditions. All right, is there a
That is
second?
correct.
Would we need to add that condition?
No, I think that condition would include the discussion of the park dedication fee as well.
Are you okay with that, Liz?
I am.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the final plat of Southwood Shores Estates with the city's recommendation and findings. Any further discussion from the commission? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thanks. Thanks, John. All right. Yep, that's right. All right, let's jump back to 4A, consideration to the request from Broadway Welding authorizing a one-year extension on a non-conforming use permit to allow a 35,000 square foot addition to an existing industrial building with a 17-foot side yard setback, a variance from the airport zoning requirement to allow a 110,500 square foot building on a 5.56 acre lot in land use safety zone B of the airport, and a variance to allow paving of 71 parking spaces for a 110,500 square foot manufacturing facility at 1090 Legion Road to May 14th, 2026. Larry.
We received this request, and I asked the owner to provide some detailed information about why they need this extension and when they expect to actually start construction, and I received nothing. So make of that what you will, or decide based on that. I'm still willing to grant this one-year extension, but I would not probably be interested in doing it again unless they have a very good plan for moving forward.
Could I say something on that?
Sure, Ron.
my next door neighbor, his brother owns Broadway Welding, and they were all set to go on this project, but like a lot of business in the industrial park this last year, they had a lot of cutbacks. And they do a lot of business with Ice Castle, Arctic Cat, Polaris, and a lot of them have so much inventory left over the last 2 years that they got notices that their orders are being cut back, and so that's why they didn't go through with this. And I believe they even had they were gonna hire a bunch of new people too, and they couldn't do that because they didn't have these orders came through. So it was a matter of orders not coming through like they should. And, BTD went through it, and some of these other ones too. It's just a matter of the business got cut back, and that's why this is happening. They plan to go forward as soon as the picks up. I don't know what this tariff thing's gonna do with all this stuff now, but that's the reason why they did that.
All right, thanks for the context, Ron. All right,
I have a question for Larry. Is this the first time we've extended this?
Heavens, no.
No.
How many years has it
We
been?
have extended, this is probably year 6. It was
Six,
started in
yeah.
2019. So,
Is there like a maintenance agreement on that parking lot that they use? The city's parking lot at the baseball diamonds there?
there likely could be, but I'm not aware of it.
It's kind of a mess over there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, sorry.
refer that to the park board. All right, look for further discussion or a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to extend for another year.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to grant the request to extend it for one more year. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. We'll carry that forward.
One other interesting thing about that, and that is, the planning commission is actually the board of adjustment for the airport zoning. So we would hear all of their requests for these variances, and we would be able to decide on the one for the airport commission. So they would not have to go to the airport commission to get that approval. So,
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
yeah,
Yay. Don't tell me we're bringing extra territory
it doubles
back
your
soon.
pay.
Okay, anything on the variance or conditional use status report anyone wants to highlight, other than the one we just addressed? Okay, and then I believe we added one item for a brief discussion on the Pelican River watershed.
So, and I think there's other people in the room that can contribute to the discussion, not just the planning
Yeah.
commission. But the only breath of information I have, of course, was the Detroit Lakes Tribune. My understanding in reviewing that article was that there was significant slashing of permitting regulations within the stormwater, or within the Pelican River watershed district, which we have relied heavily on that particular function over the previous years. So I bring it forward saying, okay, what's our next steps? I mean, shouldn't there have been
Okay.
consultation?
It's not as drastic as the paper made it sound.
Okay.
So everybody who,
Okay.
everybody who gets a mitigation permit from us still has to get a watershed district permit. And
Okay.
everybody who gets a land disturbance permit from us still needs to get or get a watershed district permit.
Okay,
The thing that changed that impacts us was that the watershed district used to do a lot of stuff in the shore impact zone and issue permits in that area, and they took that out of their new rules. And we had a memorandum of understanding with them, and they would not only enforce their rules, but would do ours as well, because they could do it at the same time they're doing theirs, and we wouldn't have to have two different agencies worrying about the same ice ridge or drop of water on the property. So what's happening there is that we just have to go back to enforcing our regulations in the shore impact zone like we used to do. So it's not really a drastic change for us. And we've already added that to our zoning permit requirements, that they have to get a zoning permit for any work in the shore impact zone. Any tree removal, any grading or filling or any other activities. So it's, from our end, I think fairly well covered.
So really, it's just gonna work, and thank you for that clarity, because I didn't understand the areas that it was.
I don't think the reporter did either.
Okay, okay. So really, our knowledge and refresher is going to be back to our own shoreland impact
Right.
zones. Okay,
Right.
all right.
So what you're saying is the headline, DL now enforcing its own regulations isn't as good as internal coup at the watershed? All right, anything else on that topic?
No, just means we have to refresh ourselves. We haven't dealt with it for a very long time.
Since I've been here.
Yeah, since I've been there.
All right.
Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else, Eric,
No, I'm good.
Andrew, Liz,
No,
Chris? John, you got anything you want to talk to us about? Larry, anything left?
I have nothing else.
Dylan or Kelsey? All right, then let's call this adjourned.
wahoo, 45 minutes again. Thank you.
It's quicker than I thought.